Okay, so let's get started. So, as anyone who is familiar with the OpenVMS operating system knows, it's been around for a long time, going back to the days of Digital Equipment Corporation. But the reason why it's been around for a long time and the reason why it continues to excel as a mission-critical operating system is because those who have used the operating system in the past and presently trust it. You trust it for reasons of high availability, which is one of its greatest benefits, as well as its security by design. And in this day and age of concerns about theft and data protection and security, these are very, very important points, as well as, of course, high availability. And, of course, with the gold standard of documentation that OpenVMS has achieved. We think it's also important that you know that you are not alone. If you are an OpenVMS user today, that there are still many organizations around the world that use OpenVMS. You can see some of the different market sectors here. And despite the fact that in 2013, when HP, at the time, Hewlett-Packard, announced that they were going to end support for the OpenVMS platform, which caused all OpenVMS customers to look for alternatives for their mission-critical applications. And until the time when VSI was formed, a little over a year later, it was really important that VSI set the groundwork in order to give customers the confidence to continue on with OpenVMS today. And that's part of what we want to talk to you about today. So let's continue. Let's talk about that transition for a moment. As I said, in 2013, HPE announced the end of support for OpenVMS. On July 31st, 2014, VSI purchased the rights to OpenVMS from HP. What exactly did we purchase? Well, first of all, we purchased the exclusive rights to develop new versions of OpenVMS products. Second, we bought the perpetual worldwide license from HP. We bought the rights to use the OpenVMS trademark as well as other marketing rights. And we also bought the right to release OpenVMS on any hardware, including the mainstream Intel x86 platform, which we will share more details on that later. Continuing on in 2015, that's when HPE ended their sales of new Alpha licenses. In 2015 also, that's when VSI introduced its first upgraded integrity product, the version 8.4-1H1, and introduced to the marketplace our 4 choices for our best-in-class support. In 2016, VSI introduced 3 additional integrity licenses with VSI support, our version 8.4-2 and our version 8.4-201, which is the latest release. And we also released it in a Japanese version for the Japanese market. In 2017, we introduced 2 new Alpha products because of the outcry of Alpha users in the marketplace that we had not paid attention to them, but they proved us by their diligence and their efforts in convincing us to come out with products. They proved themselves right, and they helped our business substantially. So in 2017, we introduced the Alpha version 8.4-2L1 and the Alpha version 8.4-2L2 later in 2017. Now, that's a performance build product, which is designed for EV6 and EV7 systems. The performance build product increases the performance and the speed of the system, which is a good thing on its own, but also for those customers who may have considered or who are using emulators, it helps to mitigate the latency effect that emulation can have on your system. In 2018, HPE OpenVMS version 8.4 earlier was obsoleted from the HPE worldwide price list. And the more recent news, which we wanted to share with you today, is in 2019, just a few weeks ago, HPE internally announced that they were going to be removing all VSI OpenVMS licenses and support part numbers from the HPE price list. Fundamentally, what this means is that HPE will not sell any new VSI products effective after June 30th, 2019. Then in 2020, HPE OpenVMS version 8.4 standard support, according to their roadmap, ends December 31st. So let's talk a little bit more about what this news from HPE means, the removal of VSI OpenVMS licenses and support part numbers from the HPE price list. Again, meaning they will not be selling any new VSI products effective June 30th. What were the factors that led HPE to this decision? Well, the first factor was simply the original 2013 announcement. As you are probably aware, there have been a series of steps since 2013, which HPE has followed a path on to, as they said in 2013, to totally end all support for the OpenVMS operating system by 2020. This is another step in that process. Also, I think part of the reason why the announcement came now rather than a bit later is HPE's recognition that, quote, VSI has the execution capabilities to assure the long-term satisfaction for OpenVMS customers and partners. And I can certainly back up that statement by telling you that the efforts and the desires and the work ethic of everyone at VSI is pointed towards doing the right thing for the customer, providing the products, the components, the services that the OpenVMS market requires, and doing our best to listen to customers in terms of what your interests are and what your needs are. So specifically to this announcement, what are the calls to actions that HPE has given to its organization? Well, first, HPE sales have been asked to redirect customer inquiries for VSI products to VSI effective the end of June. And they've also been directed to introduce channel partners to give them the opportunity to become engaged with VSI in order to secure reseller arrangements for VSI products. So that leads us to the basic question. In the near future, what are the ways OpenVMS customers can purchase new VSI products and support? Well, one, which many customers have already done, by becoming engaged with VSI either on a direct basis and working with VSI directly, or through VSI resellers or the customer's own chosen channel partners or IT partners that they've worked with. Now, we also recognize that there are going to be unique situations. Everyone's unique, but there are going to be unique situations where creative solutions need to be provided for customers. We understand that. Again, our mantra is that it's important that we satisfy our customers, that the end user customers, whatever they want, we want to try to achieve for them. We want you to have the best of all worlds. So we recognize unique situations may exist, and we are flexible enough to work with you in coming up with the right solution that is truly a winning scenario and a win-win situation for you. Part of the reason why customers have been moving to VSI, in particular, at a much faster rate over the last 2 years, is some of the benefits that we offer. The biggest benefit being the rights to new version, meaning that when customers purchase VSI upgraded licenses with VSI support from either VSI Direct or VSI Partner, they have the right to automatic upgrades as well as future license upgrades at no cost. This includes the upcoming version 9.2 major releases on all 3 platforms, being Alpha, Integrity, and x86. Plus, I think many customers have a comfort level now with VSI, now that we've been around almost 5 years and being backed by a major parent corporation, that they have the knowledge that they're working with the organization that is truly dedicated to the future of OpenVMS. We have a worldwide support team, we have a professional services team, we have training programs and a training team to support your platform. So that begs the question, who is VMS Software? Well, quite simply, as I mentioned earlier, we are the result of the formation of the company in 2014 as a result of the negotiations that our parent company, TerraCloud, had in the acquisition of these rights of OpenVMS with HP. We're headquartered outside of Boston, Massachusetts, in a town called Bolton, Massachusetts, approximately 15 minutes away from the original Digital Equipment, or DEC, headquarters. About 3 months ago, I would have said that we had about 75 employees, but we've been adding people, primarily additional engineers and developers, to work on some of these new products, in particular the x86 port. The majority of our employees work in Bolton, Massachusetts, in the United States. However, we also have offices in Malmö, Sweden, where there's a group of developers who work on open source and application development. And there's also other individuals who are located in various locations around the globe. And again, as the exclusive developer of new OpenVMS products, only VSI can provide you all the benefits that you deserve as a customer, and that as a partner or a reseller that your customers deserve in terms of the rights to new versions. Our strategy is very straightforward. It's simply to be an OpenVMS clearinghouse. Whether a customer is interested in upgraded licenses and support, or professional services, or training, or if they're interested in moving faster to the cloud in advance of our x86 product, we offer solutions there as well. In terms of support offerings, we have 4 levels of support offerings, beginning on the right-hand side and moving to the left, the highest to the least, with our Platinum 24/7 support, which offers immediate response to emails and phone calls. A technical account manager, or TAM, is assigned. And with this program, there are quarterly VSI software patch analysis and software system health checks made available. Our gold level is a 1-hour turnaround time with also a TAM assigned, and there's an initial patch analysis and systems health check. Our silver, which also is 24/7, is a 2-hour turnaround. There's no technical account manager assigned and no health checks or patch analysis performed. And finally, our bronze, which oftentimes may be used for development or test servers, is 9x5 support, or in HPE terminology, next business day, or NBD. We have a professional services team as well, performing such services as installation and migration services, managed services, remote monitoring, and application modernization. We also have a training team that can provide training for customers on-site or on-site in our Bolton, Massachusetts headquarters in the U.S. And later this month, we are scheduled to formally introduce a new online training program, which we're quite excited about for users. So we feel like we've done a lot of things over the last almost 5 years as a company. But let's answer the question, how is VSI or VMS Software doing? Well, as I mentioned earlier, we're backed by TerraCloud Corporation. So that parent's been very good to us. They've allowed us to add the staff of engineers and developers needed to develop the new products, and in particular to really provide and perform a lot of work going towards the x86 port. From a business standpoint, in both 2017 and 2018, our booked orders increased at least 2 times compared with the previous year. So our financials have been improving, and since the transition from HPE to VSI of OpenVMS customers has accelerated, we are the beneficiary of that, and we're grateful for that, and we thank all those customers who may be listening today. As a result, for the last 5 years, we have had basically what's called a negative EBITDA, earnings before interest, taxes, and depreciation. If you will, operating profitability has been negative or in the red. I'm pleased to announce that by our forecasts and what we see for the calendar year 2019, we are projecting a slightly positive EBITDA or operating profit for this year. This is important for a couple of reasons. One, it's important that our parent company know and understand that although we've made progress every year in reducing the amount of negative EBITDA or operating loss, we are now at the point where we are going to we project crossing over the threshold of profitability. So that's important that our parent company understand and know this and see this trend is continuing. Just as importantly, if not more, it goes back to our basic focus of the customer. And having improved financials will allow us to do more with customers and more of the things that you want us to do, to come out with different components, different features that we need to make sure that you are successful in your operation and in your OpenVMS mission critical environment. So part of the things that we have done already, as I mentioned earlier, we've added VSI resources. We've added 10, 11 engineers. We have added to our professional services team, and we've added a couple of individuals also to our sales team. One is based in London and has some 30 years of experience with HPE, as well as many, many years with OpenVMS. And we've added another individual, Janice Lute, in our Bolton, Massachusetts headquarters, primarily for North and South America. Let me turn some time over to Eddie, who will talk a little bit about VSI support roadmap. Eddie, can I turn it over to you?
Sure. Thanks, Terry. Can you hear me okay?
Hear you great, Eddie.
Thanks. For our support, this is showing Integrity and x86 support roadmap. Need to state up front that our policies, we support the current version and one version back indefinitely. Then once we come out with a third or a newer version, then the older third, fourth prior versions will go on PVS after a minimum of 5 years of standard support. So that's the overall policy. If you look at the way that this works out for Integrity, you see our first release was version 8.4-1H1. Typically, there is a 5-year support for standard support, but we've extended that since that was our first release, and we know that a lot of customers are there. Some will be there for a while. So we've extended that out now through the end of 2022. Then prior version support will be available at that point at the beginning of 2023. And for those customers who cannot migrate off of version 1H1, there is also an extended engineering support contract available that will extend the engineering support for that version, for the foreseeable future. We don't have any deadlines on there. That's why there are arrows on the right-hand side of these charts, just to show there's no predetermined end date there. It's all due to customer demand. If you look at version 8.4, it does have the standard 5-year support. Version 8.4.2L1 goes beyond that again. It's more like a 7-year plus support on that. And that's because typically a lot of customers will park, if you will, on the latest minor release before a major version upgrade. So 8.4.2L1 being our last release before version 9. A lot of customers will sit there for an extended period of time, so we know that going into this up front. And we know this because it's been the history of VMS users for decades. So we anticipate that, and we're planning on that. So 8.4.2L1, we're extending support, standard support through 2024. Then PVS will be available for it as well. Then 9.2 will be the first release on Integrity for. Whoops, Terry, can you go back one? There you go. Version 9.2 will be the first release on Integrity for the version 9 platform. Then version 9.x after that. You can see we don't have a PVS date on it as yet because, remember, we support the latest version and one back indefinitely. So since 9X and 9.2 will be the last two versions out there, the latest two versions out, we will support those versions indefinitely until newer releases come out. For x86, it's the same way. We support the current version and one version back indefinitely, and then as we come out with newer versions, then 9.2 will eventually go off of standard support after it's been on standard support for 5 years. Then it will go to PVS. So this is the way the support breaks out for Integrity and for x86. And for Alpha, we can't forget our Alpha customers, very important to us as well. We have two releases out, as Terry has mentioned earlier. We have 8.4-2L1 and 8.4-2L2. And we support the latest version and one version back indefinitely. That's why you don't see PVS there. But as we come out with additional Alpha versions like 9.2, for example, then version 8.4-2L1 will go off of standard support after it's been on standard support again for a minimum of 5 years. One thing to mention about version 2L2, Terry mentioned it as a performance build. We rebuilt OpenVMS and we optimized it for the EV6 and EV7 platforms. Those two platforms had hardware instructions for load byte or load store byte word instructions, which prior generations of the EVA did not EVA, but the EV5 and earlier, the Alpha platform did not have. So now we're able to take advantage of these hardware instructions. That had two effects. One is reducing the size of a lot of our executable images. One, for example, is the RMS image shrunk by about 340 blocks, which is substantial. The other advantage is that there's a performance increase. So now instead of emulating these load, store, byte, and word instructions, through other instructions, we can now just call one instruction hardware instruction in the desert forest. So performance has increased, size of executables has decreased with the 2L2 release. And then 9.2 will be out, like I say, on Alpha. We're anticipating that in the 2020 timeframe as well. Now we'll look at briefly fairly high level for the x86 product roadmaps. In 2019, in mid-2019, June timeframe, Q2, we're looking at releasing our EAK, which is version 9.0. Version 9.0 we're releasing to select number of customers and key partners, as this will be a cross-build environment. We will actually do the compilation and linking on an integrity box, then you will copy across the network to an x86 OpenVMS system for execution. So that will be a limited environment. We're looking for customers who can help to vet the tools and the libraries, the compilers, if you will. So that's why this is limited in nature. When version 9.1 comes out later in 2019, early 2020, that will be open to the general public, whether you're a customer or a partner. This will be native. The compilers and the linker and all of the libraries will be native on x86, so no cross-build will be necessary. And then version 9.2 will be the production build in late 2020, and then the alpha release for version 9.2 will follow a couple of months after we've released on x86 and Itanium.
Eddie, could you maybe just make a comment about the what's going on right now with the, I'd almost call it pre-version 9.0 EAK, just to let participants know that there have been a degree of release to some limited partners. Maybe you could just comment on that for a moment.
Sure. Some of our partners, some of our larger ones who work with us real close, we have given them the x86 cross compilers and the linker and the system libraries so that they can test out the compilers and make sure that their code has no issues once they move to x86 as well. So that has been going on now for over a month, and we don't have any serious problems that have been reported, just minor issues at the moment. We don't anticipate anything big, but just let you know that things are going well and we don't have any major issues with our partners in moving from Integrity over to x86 with these pre-build or these pre-release tools.
Thanks, Eddie. I think it's also important for folks to know that if you go onto our website, you'll see under the proof points that are being worked on, that we are just about to the end of the proof points, meaning that we do believe, and according to our R&D director, Claire Grant, we are very, very close to first boot now.
And if you look at the proof points on the website, up to about proof point number 22 or 23, things were serial in nature. But now that we're proof point 23, we can finish or complete any of the remaining proof points non-serially. So that's why if you look at it now, you may see a little skipping and jumping around, because now we can have some parallel efforts going on. So things should start accelerating with the the schedule of release that we have. In addition to running on bare metal hardware, which we're planning, and you can, again, look on our web page, look at the roadmap. There is a slide available out there that details the hardware platforms we'll be supporting initially anyway. But in addition to the hardware platforms, we'll also be supporting different virtual machines out there, different hypervisors. We're working today with VirtualBox and KVM. Those are the two that we'll be supporting first. Then Zen and VMware, we're actively working with them, and we'll be supporting those platforms as well as version 9.1 and 9.2 comes along. But we do want to give customers choice of the hypervisor they can use, because this will go a long way in determining the cloud readiness, if you will, of VMS, and to which solutions that you will be able to implement. Next slide, please.
Eddie, you may be experiencing a slight delay.
Yep, there's a little delay in here. I'm still right now on the virtualization slide.
Okay.
Okay, now it skipped ahead a couple slides.
Okay, gotcha.
I think we're going over additional products that we have come out with here recently.
Yes.
And one of the products that we've come out with is a new TCP/IP stack for VMS. This stack, which is called the VSI TCP/IP, the first release is version 10.5. This version, or this new stack, is based off of Process Software Multinet, version 5.5 and later releases. This is the stack is completely updated. It is not TCP/IP services. Again, it is based off of Multinet with bug fixes and some improvements, other improvements as well. Some of the advanced features that it offers over TCP/IP service is an intrusion prevention system, an IPS, improved network monitoring, and it has more up-to-date standards compliance in SSH and in NFS and FTP, SFTP. A lot more standards compliant than the TCP/IP services was, including all of the encryption and the cryptography and the keys associated with that. Today, version 10.5 is released on integrity. It's released as a standalone kit, although it will be integrated into future releases of OpenVMS on all platforms. The alpha kit will be available later in 2019 as well. And please be aware that the VSI TCP stack will be the only stack available on x86 platform. Some more information. Again, it is a new product from VSI. The way you install it is using the PCSI utility, whereas those who may be familiar with Multinet, you had to use VMS install to install it. So this has a more up-to-date capability. It will allow you to basically roll back in case there's an issue with it. It is enabled with the OE license, so if you have a BOE or an HAOE license, you're covered. It is considered a system integrated product, so there are no additional licenses in order for this to be enabled. It can also coexist with TCP/IP services on the same system. Now, you can't run them at the same time, obviously, but you can choose which stack you want to run, and we have a command procedure available that will allow you to switch between the stacks depending upon the one of interest for you. Again, I want to reiterate that this is the only stack available on x86. We also expect a new version of the stack, 10.6, to be released in Q3 of this year. Some more benefits, again, it's more standards compliant, it is more secure, it has IPsec support. The intrusion prevention systems I mentioned earlier, for SSH cryptography, there's Suite B elliptical curve. There's also two-factor support that will be coming out soon, and also for CAC card support, so for federal government. uses. Cat card support is coming as well. It is fully IPv6 enabled, which TCP/IP services was not. It was selected in the IPv6 support that it had. Some other features again were the internet file print terminal services. You can also run DECnet over IP. Those are still supported, and you can run those apps without modifications. In the 10.6 delivery, we're also expecting to have CKO hardware support with the checksum offload, and there are more features that we're also planning as well. So that's a summary, if you will, of TCP/IP product that we've come out with. Another product that, or component of VMS that we've updated is password management. Again, there is no new license for this. The license is included in VMS operating environments. This will be available, this password enhancement on Alpha and Integrity, and on all future releases, so x86 will be included as well. What you'll be able to do now is provide a minimum number of uppercase characters of password, minimum number of lowercase or special characters or numbers within a password, and you'll be able to specify the minimum number of categories of the above number, special characters, lower uppercase that must be included in the passwords. So much more tighter security on the password enhancements. Also a percentage of the characters of the password that must be changed will be implemented as well. And this is to provide us DoD security, to make us compliant with DoD security. So this goes above and beyond what NIST recognizes and recommends. Again, but this is to go and get us to DoD level security. And this is configurable, so you can configure less security, if you will, or you can go the maximum and specify all of these categories in addition to minimum percentage of change when a password is modified. And again, it's standard with all VMS licenses and will be on all future releases of VMS. Today it will be available as a patch kit, and that should be hopefully released here within the next month. So it is imminent as to the release of this new kit. Another new product we released in January is a product called PerfDat. We received this from HP as well back in January 2019. This is an integrated performance monitoring management. It is a capacity planning tool for OpenVMS. This tool goes above and beyond what you can get with T4, which is the free tool that ships with VMS. With PerfDat, you can monitor over 1,500 different parameters in VMS, including process level. This will be available as a standalone product in an OpenVMS environment, or you can use it as a product to its fullest extent. Or it's also available as a professional service offering where we come in, we will load it, we will configure it, we will do capacity planning solutions, what-if gains with you to figure out and help you size your systems, to let you plan for when you're running out of CPU memory or I/O performance on your box. We'll be able to give you a more controlled and planned, increased date, capacity increased date for those. Other key features and benefits, again, you can use for benchmarking, stress test, tuning, system sizing, as I mentioned earlier, for capacity analysis, where you can determine when do you need to, based off of your current execution and performance history over the past months or years, and when do I need to add more hardware to my environment. And you can also validate performance changes. If you add new hardware to a system or new software components, then you can validate the performance to make sure things have not regressed. So it's a great tool, complete performance information. It is a client server architecture where there's a GUI associated with this, so you can view these products in near real time, or you can view historical data as well. It is supported on Alpha version 7.3.2 and above, and also for Integrity 8.2 and above. There's also another product called Service Control that we now have available. Service Control, it runs within a clustered environment, and it makes an application that is not cluster aware, that only runs on one of your nodes at any given point in time. It makes it more cluster aware in that it will allow it to participate in the cluster and have automated failover from node to node or site to site, depending upon your configuration. You can also do a tiered or a tiered approach where you can have dependencies parent-child dependencies where application A is dependent upon application B to be running, and application B may be dependent upon having certain disk drives or certain network adapters available. So you can have these resources monitored, and again, they can be in an independent relationship. So it's a very powerful way of managing your applications and making them fully disaster recovery, disaster tolerant capable. One of the other things is that it is available in Alpha 7.3.2 and above, and also in Integrity 8.2 and above. And this particular product, again, is a server client as far as manageability. There is a DCL interface to this product, and there's also a GUI that runs on a Windows box, so that you can set this up, manage it, and monitor it, from the command line or through a graphical user interface.
Thank you, Eddie. We appreciate you going through some of the important aspects of what we wanted to share with on this webinar today, from the x86 update to some of the new products and our current roadmap, our current expanded roadmap. And of course, we wanted to make sure that we shared the recent news from HPE about the discontinuance of them selling VSI part numbers from their worldwide price list. And we recognize that that's going to be a transition, another step in the transition from HPE to VSI, and we are ready to assist you in your planning and how you can best continue your OpenVMS environment to keep it refreshed and updated. And as Eddie's mentioned as well, pointed towards additional versions and additional solutions for the future, possibly including x86, possibly not, possibly going to the cloud, possibly staying on bare metal. But we wanted to allow plenty of time for questions to be asked, and we would do our very best to answer them. So if you would like to use the chat box, and if you have any questions, we are certainly open to those now. So please go ahead and have any questions that you may have of us.
And while we're waiting on questions, Terry, I'd also like to just to mention, and you may want to add additional information, that our website has been updated in the past 6 to 8 weeks. There have been a lot of changes out there. We now have a list of our products and descriptions. There's also documentation available online, not only VSI branded documentation, but some of the old legacy documentation from HP. We will be updating the legacy part of that as well, and be adding new legacy information such as white papers and other documentation from the legacy versions or the prior versions of VMS as well. So a lot of new information, updated support schedules are out there as well. A lot of new information, and we'll be continuing to update the website as we go forward.
Okay, we have a question from David. Do you have an estimated date when x86 pricing will be available so that our company and customers can start budgeting for this transition? Great question, David. This has been a topic within VSI for some time. In fact, Eddie has put a lot of effort into this, and I have well. We do anticipate, I would say, by the end of Q2 of this year, to have a more definitive guideline in terms of pricing. We do anticipate being able to continue with a perpetual licensing model, but really many x86 users like the subscription model, so we want to offer both. But we're honing that down and narrowing that down literally over the next few weeks. So look for additional announcements, and thank you for the question. Here's another question from Joe. Will there be a licensing grace period for us to migrate from Integrity to x86, or will we need to pay an additional fee? So, I can take that one. So basically, when you purchase, one of the benefits, as we mentioned, of purchasing from VSI or VSI reseller partner, VSI products, you get the rights to new versions. So, so when that occurs, when you are ready to upgrade to an x86 product, as long as you continue to remain on VSI support, you will get that x86 license at no charge. So hopefully that answers the question.
And just to add a little tangent to that, you'll also be able to run in parallel Integrity and x86 for a limited amount of time, so that you can verify and vet your your new environment.
Here's another question: will VSI look at continuing the HP OpenVMS Hobbyist License Program? Yeah, this has been a bit more challenging for us, and to be very honest, it's not been at the top of our priority list. But we have been talking about this for some time. We get asked questions on the Hobbyist License Program for just about every event that we've ever done, and just about every webinar we've ever done. So we have some things in the educational market for college licensing programs, which are really more for the business operating units. We're trying to put something together for the classroom, if you will. So for instruction to be given about OpenVMS, what is it, licensing to be to offer there, to make it attractive and interesting for new students of OpenVMS, no matter what their ages are. But specifically to the Hobbyist License Program, Eddie may want to comment on this. We have developed a means, and this will be announced in the near future through our training team, actually, where there will be the equivalent of a alpha DS10, DS15, a lower level alpha, where you can get licenses that is done through AXP emulation. So look for that shortly. So we're starting the process, I guess. Here's another question: what is the expected level of effort to migrate from Integrity to x86? Will it be similar to VAX to Alpha, or Alpha to Integrity? Eddie, I'll defer that question to you.
Yeah, we're hoping it's going to be more the Alpha to Integrity line, since all of this is 64-bit. Going VAX to Alpha, especially when you go into a post version 7.2 version Alpha, you were going 32-bit, 64-bit. So since it's all 64-bit, those issues I think are alleviated. But we're planning on basically being as simple as a recompile relink is what we're looking at, and that's what we're shooting for. And again, that's why we have our development tools out to our key partners who truly stress VMS, especially in the compilation stage and the linking stage. So we have our products out there, or our tools, compiler tools, and they're being tested to make sure that that this will be the case when we release on x86.
I think the other thing that's important to note is the individual who's really leading the team here, the R&D team, Claire Graham. He is the individual who led the port from from VAX to Alpha, and Alpha to Integrity, and he's doing the same for us to 6. Here's another question from David: is there any interest in creating a 9.2 cluster client for VAX VMS to help ease the transitions for those who still need to migrate off of the VAX VMS platform? Eddie, you want to comment on that?
Yeah, good question there. I know there's going to be some changes in the cluster protocol going forward on version 9 on x86 especially, and I guess for Integrity and Alpha as well. I know we're looking at encryption and some other things, other changes to the protocol. But I think what we want to do is to hopefully make that a patch kit, or make it a 9.3 release instead of 9.2, so that we can give our customers the capability, as long as you run 9.2 of VMS, to be able to cluster with Integrity or Alpha or VAX. So that would be ideal. And again, that is something we're looking at providing to make it easy for our customers to truly upgrade in a controlled fashion from the older versions of VMS to x86.
Thanks, Eddie. Other questions? Well, it seems like, at least for now, we've answered the. Wait a minute. Oh, yes. Thank you for asking, Joe. Yes, the slides that we presented will be available. We've recorded this session, so these recordings for the webinars that have been held today should be up on our website in the next 3 to 4 days, hopefully by the end of this week. So you'll be able to get those slides, download them, and also just to listen to the entire recording. And the same holds true for previous VSI webinars. We've had webinars in the past that go back to February of last year, so those are all on our website.
And for our webinars today, we're also looking at making the Q&A available
Right.
as well on the website.
Well, we've had a couple of other comments come through. We appreciate your kind comments about the presentation and Q&A. We'd like to thank everyone, all the participants on today's webinar. Again, we're grateful for your interest. Our desire is to focus on helping OpenVMS customers today and tomorrow. We will be continuing our webinar series and providing x86 updates and other updates as time goes along. And again, as a transition from HPE to VSI continues with this news from HPE, that's a significant step for VSI. And again, we appreciate the partnership with HPE that we have. And together we want to make sure that the OpenVMS customer base is secure and has the ability to move forward in its VMS software's intent. So if there's no other questions, we want to thank you again. We hope that you enjoy the rest of your evening or the rest of your day, wherever you may be. And we look forward to talking to you again. Thank you, Eddie, for your participation and your presentation as well. And we look forward to talking to everyone again soon. Thanks again, and take care.